Welcome to Inch online fashion designing class. Today let us see how to join the shoulders using Conceal method. So for this we have already made a sample of slit open along with the shape facing for the front and a shape facing for the back. So now let us put these two with right side facing right side and join the shoulders. So instead of joining the shoulders directly, we are going to conceal it. What happens when we join it directly? So when you just stitch it directly and open this, you will have the seam allowance projecting out of the neck. So this we are going to conceal with the facing piece. So put it right side facing right side. So match the shoulder, the neck points equally. Open the facing strip. Open it out. See to it both the joints match equally. Now let us pin this in position. And join the shoulders with 1/4 inch of seam allowance. So when the needle is perpendicular, when the pin is perpendicular to the needle, you can stitch on the pin, but initially you will be scared to do that. So when you're coming close to the pin, remove the pin and then make the stitch. So check whether these joints are matching perfectly, and now turn it like this. So as you see, you don't see any raw edges here. It is concealed inside. So the raw edges are inside. So our top stitch is given for the neckline only after joining the shoulders. So this is one way of concealing the shoulder. So the other method, we will do it on the other side of the shoulder. Normally all decorations are done on the front piece by attaching a lace or a piping or by top stitching. So for now I will just stitch this part alone to understand it better. So I'm just giving a random stitch. So assume that you either attached a lace or some decoration is done on the front. So now this is top stitched. So when we put this right side facing right side, on the other side we open the seam facing strips on both sides. But for this it is not possible to open out the facing strip because we have top stitched this. So what we have to do is let the facing strip be attached to the front neckline. Let us join these two together. So the front facing strip is not available anymore. So now this back piece has to be matched exactly to the neckline here, and open out the facing strip and cover the front shoulder. So the front shoulder is in between the back piece and the facing strip. Now pin it up in position. So see to it, it is matching exactly. Fold and pin it up. Stitch it with 1/4 inch of seam allowance. Don't forget to start and stop with the back stitch. So let me turn this to the right side. So this is how your joint is. The shoulder seam is concealed inside. So these are the two methods of joining the shoulders in a concealed way. So you don't see the seam allowance at the neck edge. So now the facing strip has to be hemmed to the main fabric. If the main fabric is thick enough, you can just fold the raw edges of the facing strip and hem it. In case if you feel the fabric is transparent, if the fabric is really transparent, then trim the facing strip to the shape of the neckline by leaving 1 inch. So cut it to the shape of the neckline, then fold the seam allowance and hem it to the shape of the neckline. So this is how it looks after hemming. So now let us see how to make rouleaus. So for this you need a cross piece, a bias piece, probably 1 inch of width, fold it in half and stitch 1/4 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch. So here, so this is already stitched. See to it, it is even throughout. So now take a big needle and take at least 8 to 9 strands of thread, or you can use your embroidery thread or any woolen threads also. So now knot it up on any one corner of the cross piece. So this knotting is done only on one layer. Just put the needle in between the cross piece and knot it up only to one layer. I'm not holding both the layers. So this knotting is done on any one layer alone. So this knotting is done, and now I'm going to take the needle inside. So I'm just pushing the cross piece. So the needle is taken backwards. The reason why we are not taking the needle front side is when you put it like this, the sharp edges comes out each time from the fabric. So the back side of the needle is not as sharp as the front. So it easily slips inside. So keep pushing the cross piece down. So now after stitching, don't trim the excess seam allowance. So if you're going to trim the seam allowance very close to the stitch, then the rouleaus will remain very flat. You will not get a rounded loop. So only if you have the seam allowance here, all these seam allowance will go into the cross piece, and it gives a bound effect. Okay. So at this corner alone, let me trim the seam allowance a little because this has to slip inside easily. Whereas the rest, I'm just leaving it, I'm not trimming it. Now slowly try to pull the cross piece. So this can be done only on a cross piece. On a straight piece it is not possible because it will not stretch. So the starting alone takes a little time to get in. Once it slips inside, it is easy to pull it out. So slowly keep pushing the cross piece down. So do it slowly, don't apply too much of pressure as the thread might get cut. So once this comes out, you can cut the thread. So the Rouleau is ready. So this, if you make it even more longer, this becomes the rope for tying on the blouse. Cut the loops to the desired length, and now this has to be attached to the main fabric on the right side. So when you're attaching the loops, so this has to go like this. So decide on how big you want the loop. So this totally depends on the size of the button. So now let me put it like this and stitch it in position. So when you're matching this, you see to it you don't start from the edge because you need seam allowance to stitch the neckline. So come down and fix the loop. So this is how the loops are secured with regular intervals. Actually, this stitching is done on the diagonal line because we will be stitching only on the diagonal line. So let us trim the excess projection. It shouldn't go beyond the center line. So let me trim the excess. So now with the facing piece, right side facing right side, I have to stitch along the seam line, the diagonal lines, and then notch it, cut through the center slit, turn it inside out. So this is how it looks after ironing. So you don't see the raw edges of the Rouleaus. It is concealed inside. Thank you for watching.